If you have watched my videos up until now, you have learned about macronutrients, what foods are good sources of what macronutrients, and how to read a nutrition label. So now you have this information. What do you do with it? One of the key takeaways for me, and something that really helped me lose excess body fat and then keep it off, was realizing that whole foods are key. So 80% of the foods that you eat should be whole foods and minimally processed. That means that the foods that you eat should resemble the food that they come from. So for example, a chicken breast looks like a chicken breast. An almond looks like an almond. An apple looks like an apple. Once we start processing the food, they stop looking like what they should look like. So we have an almond, for example, looks like an almond. We can process that into almond butter. Almond butter looks less like an almond, but you can see that it came from an almond. Then we have like almond flavoring, for example. That is probably derived from the almond, but looks nothing like an almond. The best example I have of this is wheat. We do not eat wheat in its whole form. You can't go to the grocery store and go to the produce department and buy stalks of wheat. We do not eat stalks of wheat. The only way we eat wheat is when it's processed and when it's processed into a flour. This is not true of other sources of flour. Oat flour, rice flour, corn flour. We can go to the store and we can buy rice, we can buy corn, and we can buy oats. Wheat is the one exception to that, where we don't eat it whole. Wheat is very, very processed. So the benefits that we would get from eating a whole wheat plant, like the fiber or the protein, all of that has been very pulverized into the flour. Okay? So if we can try to eat the least processed foods that we can, that gives our body a chance to do the things that the body wants to do when breaking down the food and absorbing the nutritious aspects of that food that our body wants. So unprocessed food or minimally processed food is more nutrient dense, it's higher in fiber and recognizable to the body. Now, there are processed foods that are good for us, but they come from food sources where fiber is not necessary to blunt some of those negative impacts that the food could have on the body. For example, milk. You can eat processed milk in the form of cheese or the form of yogurt. Milk itself it has a very balanced ratio of carbohydrates to fat to protein. So when we consume milk, we don't need to blunt the effect of any of those nutrients being absorbed. So the same goes for the cheese and the yogurts. They're all pretty balanced in their protein, carbohydrate, and fat content. So we don't need to blunt any kind of like excess energy from those. Most of the processed food comes from carbohydrates, and then they add fat to it. And that carbohydrate fat combination is just an energy bomb to the body that usually is more than we need. So what you should really be eating are whole vegetables, whole fruits, whole animal products, and whole carbohydrates, like whole sweet potatoes, whole oats, whole rice. So how do we know if a food is minimally processed or not minimally processed? A good way of doing that is looking at ingredients labels. So here are some ingredient labels. One of the most egregious offenders of processed foods in the grocery store is salad dressing. They usually say salad dressing, frosting, and cereals are the three most processed or ultra processed foods. So I have picked on Hidden Valley Ranch for this example. If we look at the ingredient list of Hidden Valley Ranch, the majority of these ingredients are not even foods. Phosphoric acid, xanthan gum, monosodium glutamate, disodium phosphate, disodium inosinate, guanylate. I don't know what these are. I believe that they are added to make sure that this Hidden Valley Ranch dressing can stay on the shelf and stay open in the refrigerator until the next zombie apocalypse. But as far as your body is concerned, these ingredients have not been added to foods for more than the last 50-ish years. So a lot of these, while they are deemed safe in dosage, like they're not going to kill you if you eat them, they're not going to immediately cause cancer, there have not been enough studies, or they haven't really looked closely enough at what eating guanylate slowly, but eating it over time and constantly eating it. If ranch dressing is something you eat like 3 or 4 times a week and you keep eating it and keep eating it and keep eating it, nobody really knows what that does to the fine-tuned system of the body. We need to remember that the body is just a collection of systems, metabolic systems, circulatory system, respiratory system. All of these systems are functioning at a very unique balance to each individual. And when we introduce foreign objects or foreign ingredients to that balance, whether they be, poisonous gases, or they be toxic solids that we touch, or chemicals that we ingest, we don't know what they do to the delicate balance of the body. So if for a healthier balance, or what they call homeostasis, best practice would be to stick to foods in their whole form. And I'll tell you right now, disodium phosphate, I'm not sure what the whole form of that is, but I'm sure that's chemically made, synthetic. I'm not even sure what it is. So it's not just salad dressing. We have to look at everything. Pancake mix. This is clearly a processed food. Pancakes don't grow on a farm. So this is a collection of ingredients that has been put together to be added with water and mixed up and made into pancakes. I am not against this. Again, 80%. So I am not an all or nothing person. I'm not an always and never person. I'm not going to tell you that 100% of your diet should be straight from the farm. I don't live that way. I make pancakes at home. I just make more conscious choices about what pancake mix I'm going to buy, and I want it to be closer to the whole food as it possibly can. So we have Bisquick versus Birch Benders. And here are the ingredients lists. I'm covering a little bit of this ingredients list, but that doesn't matter because you get the point. The Bisquick. First of all, it has enriched flour, bleached. That has its own ingredient list. Wheat flour, niacin, iron, thiamine, mononitrate, riboflavin, folic acid, okay? Obviously, that enriched flour was not good enough on its own, that it needed to have additives added to it to make it better. Cornstarch, leavening, which has its own ingredients list, dextrose, high vegetable oil, sugar, and salt. Compared to the Birch Benders, which has organic wheat flour, that's what it is, nothing added to it, sugar, leavening, salt, and then it has some starches in it. So if I'm at the grocery store and I'm picking pancake mix, I would pick the Birch Benders pancake mix because it has ingredients that I recognize, which means that my body will probably recognize those ingredients as well. It may be higher in fiber. I don't know. I'm not looking at the nutritional label, but it's less processed. So my body will have to do a little bit more of that processing, which is good in the long run. The most egregious of these eat whole foods that just really makes me so mad is cottage cheese. So we have cottage cheese. We have Lucerne brand cottage cheese versus Daisy cottage cheese. Daisy cottage cheese is not some special boutique cottage cheese. It is at every grocery store. It costs maybe 50 cents more than the Lucerne cottage cheese, which I will recognize might be a lot of money. But look at the difference in the ingredients list. Cottage cheese should be milk, cream, and salt. Those are the only ingredients you need to make cottage cheese. The Lucerne cottage cheese, on the other hand, has this 20 ingredient list, 20 items on here: citric acid, potassium sorbate, carrageenan, locust bean gum, polysorbate 80, dextrose, carbon dioxide. What makes me angry a little bit about this difference in the ingredients lists is I don't understand why all of these additives need to be added to the cottage cheese. This is clearly to make the product a lower quality. And when it's a lower quality food and it has all these additives in it, your body is not going to recognize it in the same way that it's going to recognize milk, cream, and salt. So while these might not be directly, or maybe they are and they just don't know yet, but while these may not be directly linked to some kind of weight gain or some kind of glucose spike, I just want to share with you this best practice of looking at ingredients labels when you buy packaged foods. Make sure that it, again, is only containing the ingredients necessary to make the product. If it includes all these other ingredients that you can't pronounce, I would question the quality of it, and I would question what the effect is on your body. One other thing, I don't have the pictures of it either, but if you're going to go for ice cream, Haagen-Dazs. Haagen-Dazs is a great company where they really only use the ingredients necessary to make the flavor of the ice cream. They do not have additives. If you were to look at Haagen-Dazs vanilla versus even Ben & Jerry's vanilla, which they cost the same amount, Ben & Jerry's uses gums and additives in their vanilla, and Haagen-Dazs has only the ingredients necessary to make vanilla ice cream. Cream, sugar, vanilla, egg yolk, and whatever else it is that you make ice cream. So the point of this video is just to get you to look at the ingredients labels and try to make more informed choices about the products that you're buying. I don't care what products you buy, I really don't. If you love Hidden Valley Ranch dressing and that's what you want to buy it, go for it. I do have a packet of recipes that includes how to make homemade ranch dressing that rivals Hidden Valley Ranch dressing, so I would suggest you make it at home because it's very easy, not a lot of ingredients. But all I want you to do is make a more informed choice. I want you to know that this is important and that this is something that you can look at, and then once you know and once you take that time to read the first ingredients label, you know what brand you want. So you know that you will want Daisy. It may seem like it takes a lot of time right at first, but after you know, and then it won't take as much time. So thank you, and I will give you some more concrete tips of what to do in the next video.